How y'all doing? This is Rebel Ray, and this is the Prune Tree Podcast. I'm your host, and thank you for joining me today. We're celebrating is so many things that are happening in the community that's helping us come together, and we're excited about the movement. Some kind of revitalization. That's the key word that's been kind of jumping out to me. Um, and I think about my um, my staff that helped me behind the scenes. And when we pull these things together, shout out to Mayfay Management, my marketing staff for the podcast. And so when we put all these things together and we're thinking about how we want to tell the stories of the richness of individuals, it changes every time because we're kind of like that. We're not the same when we tell our stories, but it's important that we tell our stories. It helps us in ways that can center us and support us um, to help us be seen. And that's what the prune tree is about. So we do a lot of connecting with the community, especially through the work that I do during the day. I'm with you all at night. And a lot of times we get to just kind of unwind. It's not not formal here. We're more just in tune with spirit and kicking back and chilling and making sure everybody understands the assignment. And so I think being on grown auntie time and where I'm at right now, I'm going into my 40s, and it's an exciting time for a millennial. It's a lot of transformation. We keep talking about that. So on the prune tree, we talk about the growth. We talk about the transformation. Before we dive deep, I want to give a shout out to my Mexican and Mexican American family members and community members out here who are going to be celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Hey, hey. And we're getting sophisticated each podcast. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be inserting some music into the stream from time to time, just so you guys can listen to what I have on my playlist. And when I'm on the go, of course, we got those playlists. We were the generation of the Apple iPods. So, you know, we loaded music. That was funny. Um, but that's what we used to do. We used to make these playlists that you couldn't change without deleting the entire pod at one time. It was funny when they first came out. So, really 90s push culture, learning about what we're going to be doing in the future as young elders. And talking about young elders, we saw a generation really push um, for continued transformation in our parks this last yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It's been so many events we've been doing. But it was a cool flex to see RSSC come together. And when I say RSSC, I'm not just talking about the internal staff. I'm talking about the collaboration. We are 100 plus partners. We're going on 10 years. All right. The coalition, right? That collective impact model and change model where it allowed everybody to join forces to see the change that we wanted to see. And so when I took over, I kind of just went back to that concept and telling our stories, because this is what it needs to be done. And telling our stories, oftentimes, like with Black and Brown people, we tell our stories through color and through movement and storytelling and the passing down of the storytelling. So every time I decorate in a room or I see an art piece that draws to me, speaks of the passion of the movement, the love of the movement, I think about how it speaks in volumes and in color. So Cinco de Mayo was really centered around our mural unveiling around April 30th. we did a mural unveiling. And in the unveiling was in Brotherhood Park. It was about 200 people came out. We had tacos. We gave out, fun drinks, resources, talked about parks activation and what you want to see in your parks. And we had some cool speakers, and I'll insert the video on the Prune Tree podcast just for you to be able to listen to. Um, but it was Angel Hernandez, and he's a long-term advocate here in Stockton. And I honestly, I never knew Angel was actually from Tracy, but he said he was from Tracy, and he's a long-term advocate here. And he's been pushing for handball revitalization and bringing in good things into our parks, make sure our bathrooms are working. He touched on a lot of great things. He really advocated, and you'll hear me in the video. I get activated and I hear the passion that people have for the community of Stockton, and I get excited. And so you hear me in the back, I'm going to church. And speaking of church, boom, boom, I need that tambourine pack. I really got my church ladies hat on, and we're gonna take a little pause because I have ads now that I actually do, and I push other CBOs information out because community need resources. And if you look at the bottom of your the Prune Tree podcast is brought to you by the Arts Pathway Initiative. So we're really connecting artists, storytellers, narrative thinkers, individuals that love the arts, that love the drama, the music, the jazz, Harlem Nights. We're uniting. And so this podcast supports that. It supports that movement. It supports the free thinking and the speech of the people, to be uplifted up. And I'm an advocate. I always will be. It's so funny because people think I'm a disruptor. It's so funny, and how it has like that negative connotation. But just one educational moment, disrupting doesn't mean that it has to be forceful. It could be innovative. Steve Jobs was a disruptor. He was a genius, but he was a disruptor of the concept of what we knew the personal computer to be. And he was deemed brilliant. And a lot of times, our Black and Brown individuals are overlooked in our history or not being told. And we do brilliant things all the time. So learn to celebrate somebody. And that's why I plug my community businesses, because I owe it to my ancestors. All right, listen. So this is one of my favorites. It's close and dear to me. Again, it's many partners in the community that will be supporting the Birthing Tree Community Lactation Room. It just opened. If you haven't got a chance to see the mural, let me tell you about this mural. I can't. You got to see it first. And set up a tour. Come to Huddle if you're not a part of the membership here. Shout out to Maddie and Eric on being the co-owners of Huddle Co-work Space. They are partners as well in this community lactation room, where they provide support, education, perinatal and lactation and birth practices. So we're going to be having the CHWs and the doulas popping off here, and just being really forward in our holistic healing, and connecting to our Black and Brown people. And, save a baby, keep that milk out, and really practice the breastfeeding practices we need with our Black and Brown families. We got to lower those mortality rates. And one of those things is just connecting and synergy. So remember, we're going to be connecting you for free. Thank you for the help of Health Plan in San Juan King, who is a major funding in this work. And also, working with other partners in our perinatal equity and our Black birth equity initiative. So I'll be posting this. I post all the flyers, all the ads that we do. We do it live as well. We'll be posting it after this podcast. So United Way is always down to help you with your taxes. It is based on certain income to support, but you can do it free. And some of y'all, tax day was April 18th. You may be still stressing. A lot of us stress over financial matters and we avoid things and things topple over us. So check in with your stress. You feel me? Get stabilized. You know what I mean? Go ask for help. These are resources and programs to keep you on the move. So free tax help, and it is from our they called it account EITC, so California Earned Income Tax Credit. It's a real movement to help everybody. All right. Next, this is the Black Birth Equity Initiative. Again, it's part of the actual community lactation room concept. And then also where our mural is by Keo Duris. And she is really phenomenal. And so she will be an upcoming person that Rebel Ray will have on the show for the prune tree. And it's going to be awesome to kind of have her. So she's connected in this work because she brought art in this space. We talking about art. We talking about what pushes our community. Black Women for Wellness, right? Providing advocacy, community, educational services to Black women and girls since 1997. So just remember, they support Black women and girls from across the diaspora. Look them up. I like them. They're really, really dope. Really cool flyer. Marketing is everything. I'm always about business, economics 101, right? And I want to uplift Central Plate Farms. This is a beautiful brochure that we thank our partners, Reinvent South Stockton Coalition, marketing team, and outreach coordinator team came together with Central Plate, and they really got this together. It's beautiful. They were out there at Earth Day, really handled it for Earth Day. We represented really well in the coalition and really just showed up. And we planted beans in the soil and engaged the kids. There was a lot of people. So Central Plate was there. Shout out to my mentor and a master of her craft, Ashe Queen, Miss Patricia Miller. And so this is a nonprofit that was founded by her. She has 20 plus years. I think it's more closer to 30 years of urban farming. We're going to be doing really good work with her. And so I wanted to uplift her. Find her on Facebook and Instagram, and that is Central Plate Farms. Next, we got activated. And we had some volunteers out there at our last couple events. I'm excited. We had Cinco de Mayo Day in Sierra Vista. Our people came out. We had the tacos. We sponsored along with Stan and Win Properties. We thank them very much. But yeah, we're looking for volunteers. And it could be anybody. We do so many different works and so many different levels of everything. The People's Empowerment Center really helps with also our trauma work with Reinvent South Stockton Coalition. So that's really dope. Our interns, if you're looking for internships, we're also looking for that. We're training individuals to be culturally competent, engage in therapy in a healing way, in a trauma-informed lens way. And all of our organizations are getting certified in our Trauma Transform certification program. So and we have training. So we are really excited. Listen, so when the air gets a little bit hot in Stockton, like all the beautiful, wonderful places, and I'm gonna give them those names in context, that get hot in Stockton, pollutants will rise in the air, aerosols, and other different pollutants that hurt us and they hurt our health. And we have COPD, and sometimes we have a little bit of that asthma that's going on in our bodies. So this free air purifier available to Stockton residents. Please call. If you don't have internet access, call area code 559-230-5800. And this presented by Valley Air. Okay, so that's good to know. Keep our asthma rates down. I'm going to talk about one more free service because I know a lot of our seniors, like y'all need to be connected to internet, right? A lot of times in those zones, areas in our housing, we don't have adequate internet. And so we talk about even in housing justice, how we're all unifying and how we connect, how we get out of social isolation right now. Unfortunately, it's is really through that digital age is kind of over, and the internet is really just pushing through to more progressive connections. And so you need good internet, and everybody should have the ability to tap in. So we have the Affordable Connectivity Program. You can call 1-866-475-4897. And it's great because it's income based and it helps you and supports you. Make sure we have internet in our rural areas as well of our indigenous population. So look, boom, boom, boom. You can't tell me I'm not with the church lady community announcements. That's what we gonna call that segment, Nico. The church lady community announcements, because I went through like 10 church lady community announcements. Okay. And I look like a good church lady right now. I love it. And for y'all that don't have a sense of humor out there, because I always got to give it a discussion. I grew up very, very, very Christian, Orthodox, Protestant background, and so that in a way is very much appreciated. And let the good Lord uh, use you. All right, so here in this parks activation, it was very, very going back to our Hispanic brothers, Mexican American, excuse me, and Mexican heritage, and Chicano and Latina, wherever how you identify, we support you. We got our we got our little setup right here. So, everybody knows that one of my for profits, I have an LLC, Ray and Jane Mobile Bar and Lounge. And so we do event planning and coordination, and as well as, we have bartending services. So that came with the pivot in COVID, right? Again, being a small business, this is what we do. And our Black and Brown people and the people of the community, we understand how to build community again, build economics. So I always got that dedicated, as well as, we have our tobacco for our indigenous teachings. The rattle that Sister Sarah gave to me at one of our circle healing connections that we had with National Compadres. And as you can see the candle here for National Compadres. And I really learned how to do culturally rooted healing in 2014. Really like just how Lakota Way really holds space in a lot of our sacredness and indigenous teachings, and got certified through the National Compadres Network. And so I never forget the feeling it made for me. It was so impactful. Just how to connect what you learned in psychology, what you learned in all those books, what you learned in social work practice. A lot of that was borrowed from indigenous teachings, and some of it was stolen. And some of it wasn't giving credit to people who learned how to heal themselves for centuries before colonization. And so we have those hard talks here and on the Prune True podcast, and we never get upset. Whenever you all have a question or you need to know about your history or the history around it, or you're questioning your reality, read, research, be a scholar. And so I've always been that. And so I've dedicated also knowing that our cactus is very sacred plant to our Mexican, American, indigenous populations as well. And I have a beautiful katina that I bought at one of our smaller loving souvenir shops on Miracle Mile. And I'll remember to post her postcard. She had so many little different trinkets in there. It's beautiful. I remember because I love to lift up a small business. And you see, we have the corn maze, and the sage, and of course our copal. Our copal is very sacred as well. When we burn it, and we offer space to our ancestors that have gone. And we do that on all of how we interact in culture and how we connect. And so I learned that about our community members. Strength here in Stockton, si se puede, right? And the history, the rich history that social work told us, and what our indigenous teachings still tell us. And again, shout out to Brother Angel Hernandez. He touched on the Omelex, which was an um, indigenous to the Central America, and also just moving forward and having Africana roots. But it brought that Chicano nation down, and he talked about the significance of rubber and how rubber was really formulated with um, this indigenous tribe. And so it was so good to connect the mural to the stories, to a lot of the history, the rich history. And we need to do that. And that's how we, support each other when we want to celebrate each other, right? We have different backgrounds. And I feel led to say this because I think sometimes there is a mysticism out there about how American can you be, and you lose a lot of your assimilation to the American culture. You lose a lot of your self identity and your family members when you're kind of forced to assimilate to the American culture. So just being culturally competent and trauma informed when we have these discussions too is big for me. Um, May the 4th, okay, be with you. A lot of y'all don't know, but Rebel Ray is a Star Wars fan. I cannot tell you. Um, I've watched all the series. I've signed up to Disney just because I love my Star Wars. So I got my little Star Wars figurines in the back of my sage because I am beautiful. I am loving. I'm powerful, and I'm healed. Um, but I'm connected with the geek inside of me. Let me tell you. I be geeking on the Star Wars. So it's okay. You don't have to be one dimensional. You gotta be one linear, and you don't have to prove yourself to nobody. We're 40. Star Wars did something for us. I don't know what it was, but if you're a Star Wars fan, then you understand. So always keep. It's funny because I got Darth Vader here, and I keep Darth Vader on my desk because Darth had a very built-in history lesson for spiritual consciousness and the force and how it works in you, and when you don't heal, how it shows up. You can still be powerful, but you can hurt others as well. Darth Vader reminds me of the story, and I keep him on my desk to remind me always heal, always move forward. Don't get stuck in vengeance. Don't get stuck in that low vibrational plane. You could be as powerful and called to do what you're supposed to do, but Brother Vader here, um, he couldn't seek eternal life. His consciousness wasn't as high. He wasn't vibrating. So sometimes you got to regulate it, and you got to have a guide. So, like I said, I pull stories, I pull moral, um, really like deep analysis, and just like each of the characters in Star Wars, and really connect it. So that's the geek in me. I told y'all something. Now you tell me something. Drop your comments in the website. So I hope y'all been drinking y'all water. Shout out to Shaw for Community and 209 Heights. Boom, boom, boom. They doing it. If you watching, Lakeisha, shout out to you. You are moving so fast. I'm proud of you. Um, Lakeisha Little Shaw is a individual from the 209, for real, from the South Side, just like me. There's so many great people coming up from the South Side, speaking up now, right? Saying, hey, we want to see some change. We need the change. I'm gonna post Angel again Hernandez video. It was an amazing video of just him speaking from a place of solidarity, but also reassuring and being an advocate and not being scared. to speak up and say, hey, this is what's happening. We need to pay attention to it. I did not know we have, and this is by Angel, because Angel, again, is the expert of the park's activation and getting our family into the park to play handball. And I don't want to misquote you, Andrew, Angel, and I have to have you on. But you really talked about what stood out to me in the video is you talked about there were 14 handball hand courts in Stockton, and we're seeing little by little the pickleball movement, which is fine. I'm all for progressiveness, but I think it should really lead back to the people and what like the people want versus any action that we do for different culture within our parks and our parks activation. And he had a point that he brought up that there were 14 and only four, and this is by his standards, I have not looked into it, four are only usable. That's kind of unacceptable, right? Four are only usable, the cracks in the cement, um, and they're wanting more art. They're wanting more art and stories, and they want to be acknowledged and they want to be seen on the outside of our hand courts. And we should want that for our community. It brings color, it brings people back to Stockton that felt the magic in Stockton and how we connected in community. We once was the most diverse city. And so we have so much richness in history when we're celebrated, all of us. Again, at my heart, when I speak, I'm a social worker. And I'm going to remember the ethics and the code and pushing for differences for all people to coexist. Um, that's what we call true peace. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox. I want to appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. If you're not following the work that I'm doing in a community, I'm meeting tremendous, mighty um, individuals in our community. I forgot how strong we were on the South Side. And it's brought a more revered appreciation for the people, for the people. Uh, the people keep the movement going, y'all. And we have to continue to move forward. Um, Young elders get into position and responsibility and self accountability for your family and the community. And we also have to have responsibility for ourselves. Uh-oh, we're not ready for that. Sometimes that hard place where you need to get to takes all the responsibility. It's a dedication and a discipline to yourself. If you talk about you healed and you're moving and you're healing, then there's a different way to move, and everything doesn't need a reaction. So you don't have to address it. You come to a place in time where it's kind of hard to self express yourself, and it looks kind of bleak sometimes, but just know you got to keep living. You got to have those vision boards. You have to write in your journals. Creatives, creatives, creatives. This podcast is really geared to you. It's about community, but it's about the sacred space of creatives and healers and people who are spirit led and full of heart and passion and compassion for God's people and whoever you call your higher power. So when you're activated, don't be ashamed. When you see a young person and they want to volunteer, they want to connect with them. Young elders, and I'm our 40, 50, and young um 60-year-olds, we're the young elders, and we're able to position our young kids to connect in green space, connect in parks, connect at church, synagogue, at the mosque, wherever we connect, the community center. um it's important, and we have to unlearn some stuff we learned in COVID, and then we have to also adjust to some stuff that we learned in COVID. I tell you, COVID taught me many, many things. And with the Prune Tree podcast, if you're not pruning, are you moving? Are you grooving? Are you growing? Are you being nurturing? I was talking to King Solomon, my Solomon, and we were vibing on a lot of the creative movies that are coming out. And I am going to have our marketing team here for the Prune Tree podcast actually post that. And it's just really just real informal breakdown analysis. I didn't get too deep on the analysis. I gotta go and watch the movie again. But it's a new movie and it's a hard hitter. I want you to, after you get done with the podcast, if you got like 15 minutes, if you're sitting in the bathtub or you're soaking, or if you're listening to this in your headphones and you're not even watching me, don't even worry about it. Listen to the sound of my voice when listening to the review. It was me practicing mindfulness with my partner, and it was so dope. It was so that sapiosexual vibe, but it was also just being in that moment. Ashe, slow down, moving too fast, carrying everything, right? Um, and we saw this movie from a different eye, and it really brought perspective to what it feels to constantly live in terror, be terrorized, and see the patterns over and over again, to kind of live in a purgatory as black and brown people when we continue to see things. And it's the microaggressions, it's the always having to explain yourself, explain your nails, explain your hair. There should have been no reason for a crown act. But people choose to educate themselves on what they want to educate themselves on. So that's why educators, that's why you individuals that need help and support with your voices, go get connected to a master. And when I say a master, I'm not talking about somebody that you jump in an occult with. So please don't quote me on that. I'm talking about a teacher, a master teacher, educator, someone who's lived a life. There are seniors, they're elders, they're around here. They need to connect back to some of our young people. They're struggling with isolation and food deprivation. Slow down, go talk to them. They're at our senior centers, they're at our transit bus lines, they're they're gathering. Shoot, a lot of them live with us. They're now living with us. They can't afford to live on their own. So we have a lot of extended family living in the home with us. Take the time to talk to them, hear their stories, and pass it down to your children. And I want to leave you with that. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Boop, boop, boop. We love tacos. We love tequila. And that's not for the kiddos. I'm not endorsing that for the kiddos. But that's the culture. It's more to it. It's so much more richness. I just tapped on the party. So please don't think of anything of me on that. But it's also fiesta time to rejoice and connect and eat food, be in space, hug your loved ones, be safe this weekend. You'll have your flags waving. We support you. We love you, Black and Brown Pride. And coming together. Go see that handball court at Brother Williams Brotherhood Park. It's off of Airport in Stockton, California. That mural is beautiful. If you can't come in person, please, please, please scan the QR code. Tell someone so you can share the page, share the QR code. There's a QR code on the side. You can just scan it and it'll tell you about the work. Shout out to Edison High School arts team and Timo Marino. Shout out to you, sir. Um, you were the movement uh, along with your team. You were there to get the certificates and really uplift the work that was put in. We thank you, sir. And you inspired all of us. So, peace, love, happiness. I'm Rebel Ray. I love you. You need to love yourself. When you get up in the morning, turn that music on, wiggle that stress away, get that serotonin popping, and get that energy going. And in gratitude. Ashe and amen. Peace.